Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the first edition of Heads Up with JCarver. I am here playing a $100 Heads Up Sit and Go on what was formerly the Cake Poker Network, which is now Juicy Stakes. I wanted to do something a little bit different than some of the previous videos that we've done, where I've been playing some 2 cent, 5 cent, six max with my friend Husky Mudkips, and I wanted something a little bit different where we got to change up the format in some way or another. And I think I thought a heads up video would be kind of cool, and you guys would kind of like it. Here in this hand, he opened the button. I bet out in the tournament when check on flop. Usually when he checks back in this flop, he doesn't have very much. He has a hand like ace high, which given the river is why I'm gonna bomb it and thinking I'm gonna get called a lot by the ace X type of hands, but he might have just had like two threes or two fours and couldn't really do anything about it. I feel like my heads up game is probably one of the stronger parts of my overall game. Although maybe that's not true anymore. Back in the old days when I'd play a lot of poker, I always thought my heads up game was pretty strong. But especially in tournaments and these types of settings. Here on the flop, I made a pretty standard continuation bet. This is kind of an interesting situation as to whether or not we should be checking back or betting twice. If he, I, given that he's all right, well, given that he's check called twice here, I'm probably gonna just check this back. It's possible that he has a hand like ace high or two threes, two fours, which I do beat, and I think if he had sevens or better preflop, we would at least likely have heard from that preflop. It's certainly arguable to bet this river for value. I actually think I'm gonna do it. I mean, it's so unlikely that he has something better than this. I mean, I feel like if we lose to. I mean, all right, I guess we lose to the queen nine. That's kind of an unusual hand to. I mean, I guess he called pre, check called, check called. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't really hate my value bet because I feel like if he has like a weakish ace type of thing, he could still consider calling. There's lots of hands we could bet like that. All of our with straight draws, we could turn flush draws with the turned club draw that we could have bet twice. Maybe that was certainly thin. Maybe it was a little too thin, but given that I don't know my opponent at all, I feel like it can't be that bad. Just given that you would think that a lot of the for him to have us beat there, he has to have like a weak type of queen X that isn't like ace queen or probably like king queen suited. Those hands we probably would have heard from pre-flop. So he has to have like a queen 10 offsuit, queen 9 offsuit, queen 8 offsuit if he defends those, and then have played that passively. Otherwise, I think it's a thin but okay value bet. Obviously we don't know this opponent at all. This guy could be anybody. So I feel like given if we develop a dynamic, then maybe that would be clearer value bet or clearer not one way or the other. But pretty standard pot here. Open button and C bet. My plan in one of these slower heads up matches, because we're not playing a turbo, just a normal, $100 heads up sit and go. My plan is to pretty much min raise most of my buttons until he gives me a reason not to. There's a chance that he has. I mean, it seems like he's a little more passive than most people, but I would be surprised if he had king in the spot ever. It seems even that a snap call on turn, he either has like a withdraw or like a jack X type of hand. I'm gonna bet, given that I assume he's gonna call me with any jack or maybe even like any eight, because there are so many draws that missed by the river. Let's see what he had. We'll just fold the old deuce three suited. We'll probably find out in like 45 minutes when this thing loads. Yeah, it is not cooperating. Well, oh, there we go. Let's see. Oops. Boy, client just as good as ever. Wow, he had queens. I mean, that's not too different than the Jack X hand that we thought he had. In power level is pretty similar. I'm kind of surprised to see him check back queens on the flop there, but I guess it doesn't make zero sense. And king 8, what was it, king 8-6, something like that. So, and I think it's also check call, check. Queen on, queen 5-5, deuce 9. Also, 9 river is also kind of interesting. They didn't raise that. So he bet this flop and bet this turn. Given that we think he's a little bit more in the passive type, I would kind of imagine him here to have either like he could have ace x of hearts, any kind of like heart draw would make sense. I think I'm gonna end up just folding. I mean, he could definitely have some semi bluffs, but I feel like he is more likely than other people to not just have like the 6-8 of spades and just be barreling. I think his range there is pretty strong, and I feel like if we check call the turn, we're probably gonna just check fold most rivers, which I'm not super happy about. I think that's a pretty reasonable line to take. If you guys haven't watched, if you guys haven't got a chance to watch it yet, my episode of NBC Heads Up aired. I think last Sunday was when it officially aired. They're running a lot of it on NBC Sports. If you're interested in watching my match against Chris Moneymaker, they didn't include a lot of the hands that I kind of thought they would. There was a couple of cool bluffs that I pulled off that they didn't include, and they just included like 4 hands. I mean, obviously they have to cover the entire tournament, so they can't go too wild. With showing my hands from the coverage, but so check calls. It's definitely possible he has king x, given that we've seen him check call with queen x in a spot very similar to this, and there's also many draws that missed. So I feel like if we're gonna bluff here, we have to bet a lot. I think I'm gonna give it a go though. I think I'm gonna try betting like 525 or something like that. I just feel like he is gonna read this to be strength, because people that overbet typically are strong. It's usually not weak the first time people do it. And I feel like unless he has like king queen or better, it's gonna be hard for him to call. Nice, we got it done. Nice little overbet action. I feel like if he has a 6, it's a very hard call to make, although it doesn't really, king 10 and 6x are, very close to the same hand there. They just beat the bluffs that I have, and I have a lot of bluffs, but, if he doesn't know who Chel Sonnen is, and honestly, I mean, who doesn't know who Chel Sonnen is? If he doesn't know who Chael Sonnen is, then I guess he'll probably give me credit for a bigger hand. If I was Jason Somerville there, I would still probably make a similar bluff like that, but I think or at least consider it. But I think it's even more likely to work, just given the fact that it's a random guy and we're playing $100 heads up with sit and go. You know what? We haven't seen how he'll react to 3-bets yet, so I think I'm gonna put in a 3-bet here and see how he reacts. He's been opening a lot of his buttons and been doing it for 3x, so I feel like it's an okay spot to get a little wild and throw in a little bit of a light re-raise. I'm gonna try, if we get to the deeper blind levels, I'm gonna start limping the button and see if you watch see how that goes. If you watch the coverage from the NBC Heads Up, I did a lot of limping on the button against Chris Moneymaker. I just felt like he wouldn't react to it correctly, and not that he'd react to it necessarily incorrectly, but just that I thought that it would kind of maybe throw him for a loop a little bit, and that he would kind of start limping his own button against me, which he did, which made me happy. I think I'm going to lead out here, as unconventional as that is. I mean, if I check, he might take a stab at it with like the Jack 10 offsuit with no heart or something like that, but I felt like this particular player was gonna check back there more often than most, and I kind of wanted to get a straight out of value from those kind of hands that would call one but wouldn't bet themselves. In this spot, I think I'm gonna just call. This hand is obviously really good, but it's not like phenomenal, and I'm not super confident about like re-raising, because we'd certainly have to get it in. I mean, I guess I wouldn't absolutely hate it. Do we want to get it in, or do we want to just call? I think I'm going to just call. I'm not going to make too many mistakes post-flop, I don't think, and I might induce him to make some mistakes on various flops when he has better hands than us. What to do on this flop? I think I'm going to start with a bet, and we'll see what happens. Okay, he just check folded. That's a little weird. You would imagine that if he had a hand like, the only hand that really makes sense there is like 2 8s, that would just totally give up. But even that hand might decide to, I'm going to lead here, see what he does. Even that type of hand might decide to bet once as a bluff and then fold to anything beyond that. If he continues here, it depends what the turn card is, but he just decides not to. Alright, 2 3s, blinds went up. And this what seems like 40-minute blind levels. And it's got to be, it's 10-minute blind levels. Okay, so now I know we're 10 minutes into the video. Gonna fire another bet in here in the flop. We probably have the best hand more often. Well, way more often than not, we have the best hand. but like 70% of the time we have the best hand. I think I'm gonna bet twice. We get value out of straight draws, stuff like that. Once in a while he'll fold a better hand than me. If he has like 2 4s, maybe he'll fold, or like maybe 2 8s. I mean that probably raises pre-flop, but he might fold a better hand than us sometimes. And even if he has a hand like just 10-9, we were happy to have that hand fold. At this point, it's kind of an interesting spot because if we could either check back and we win a lot against like the queen 10s and ace 10s if he has something like that. We probably would get a Jack X hand to fold here, it seems. I think I'm going to bet and see if we can get him to fold a slightly better hand than ours, a Jack or type something like that. I don't know if this was a bluff or not. I don't know for sure. I mean, obviously I was bluffing, but I'm not sure if it actually was a bluff given his actual hand. I feel like if he had, obviously if he had like a queen 10, we had the best hand and that was just that. But there's a chance that he folded a Jack or a hand slightly better than ours. It makes sense. We represent reasonable hands that, we represent a lot of flush draws, 2 pairs, sets, ace king, aces. It definitely is a credible thing to do. Pretty clearly we had the best hand on this hand with the king 7. Feeling good about this. Put a lot of pressure on our opponent. Picked up a couple good pots without having it, which is always nice. Pocket aces. I did 3-bet him earlier once, which makes me more likely to 3-bet him now. Just, I could have made it a little bit less, I guess. If I hadn't 3-bet him before, I might have just called. But I think it's a good thing to kind of re-raise him there, because it kind of puts pressure on him to tighten up his pre-flop range. Maybe at this stake level, he might be like, oh, now I just have to go all in or fold, or maybe he'll try limping. Or I'm happy to maybe put some doubt into his normal game plan. He did just give us a walk there, so maybe it's working. Maybe. All right. So another min raise here. I'm certainly going to be only min raising here from my button, given these stacks. Nice little 5-1 chip lead. If he limps, I will probably... Actually, if he limps, I might shove. Just given the fact that most people, when they limp the first time, they're probably not going to have very much. But that is a play that I have enjoyed many times in my life. The button limp strong the first time. People tend not to believe it. He defends here. Could be a big hand. Could be like an aces, ace-king type of hand, but way more likely to just be like a 7-8 suited type of hand, something like that. Having flop top pair here, if he does have us beat, we're just going to give him 385 more chips because, hey, we're just nice like that. He is thinking about something. We're going to start with the bet. I'm going to bet 50. Let's see what happens. Sorry I'm not on the webcam like I usually am. I'm on my laptop. I have a little bit different of a recording situation than normal here. Alright, we have to call. He could have too many like Jack 10, Queen 10, he might have a huge hand, but we just really can't do anything about it. Alright, he has the ace 3. So we're sweating an ace 3 or a 10. Boom, shipped it. Alright, a very successful debut episode of our Orbit with JCarver here. We have won the tournament. We have shipped the 100 sweet juicy stakes dollars. If you guys like this video or have any questions, comments, anything like that, message me on Twitter at Jason Somerville and comment below, like the video, share it with your friends. If you guys like this type of video or anything like this kind, let me know. If there's anybody you want to see with the Orbit With series, I'm going to keep doing that. There'll probably be more videos like that this week. I am planning on doing 5 new videos this week, so this is the first of 5. So I really appreciate everybody watching these videos. Thanks so much for your support, and I'll be back tomorrow with more. Hope you guys enjoyed.